Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, or maybe from some of these other Locked On shows that we do. And up next for the 49ers, a test against the Houston Texans. And the 49ers, no secret, they're continuously getting more and more banged up every week. And with the team sitting at 5-2, is it now time to go out and make a trade?
Hey, everyone, I'm Dwayne Boyd, four-time Super Bowl winner. And for this upcoming game against the Houston Texans, will the 49er run game show up again? Are they for real, or was this a one-game show?
What's up, everybody? Brian Peacock here of Locked On 49ers. And familiar foes. DeMeco Ryans gets to face his old defensive coordinator and his old head coach. Does this give the advantage to Shanahan and the Niners or DeMeco and the Texans?
Locked On 49ers Squad Show starts right now.
To all the faithful, it's the 49ers Squad. Everything San Francisco 49ers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Levi's Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. For those faithful to the Bay, the 49ers Squad Show starts now.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks so much for tuning in to this Locked On 49ers Squad Show, and shout out to all our everydayers who tune in every week, making us your first listen for everything 49ers related. And make sure you're subscribed on the Locked On 49ers YouTube channel or the Locked On 49ers podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate it. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And with the 49ers, 5-2 right now, man. 5-2, despite all of the turmoil and injuries that they've had to battle through this year. But when I talk about this team, it doesn't have a 5-2 vibe, right? It does not feel like this team is it's been so much doom and gloom when we've talked about them, and we're talking about every week the holes in the offensive line, the problems moving the ball consistently on offense, the lack of turnovers on defense, and yet here this team stands at 5-2 in first place in the NFC West. But as Brian said, you got a familiar foe, DeMeco Ryans, and the Houston Texans up next. So let's just start right there. What do we expect this 49ers team to do against the Texans? Brian, let's start with you. Do you are you expecting this 49ers team to kind of do what it's been doing and weather the storm, or is this the week that the injuries finally catch up to them and bite them?
Well, I want to keep saying that this is the week the injuries are going to overwhelm the 49ers because I've been wrong about it so many times this year. It's been a good luck charm if I'm picking against the 49ers. But I like the 49ers' chances in this one. I think it's going to be a close game. And overall, I think it's going to be a game where there's not a lot of points. And so who can get down the field and who can put the ball in the end zone, whose kicker has made every single kick so far, so I like the 49ers for that reason. I think Kyle Shanahan can scheme something up despite all the injuries, and we can go through more of the injuries again. But Kittle back, I like him to get a little bit more involved in the passing game. And if you're going to make this about the coaching, I mean, I'll take Saleh and Kyle Shanahan really over anybody in the NFL right now. And I do think there will be some things that DeMeco Ryans is able to do to thwart the 49ers offense. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. In fact, they have the best defense in the NFL as far as points against. And so they're letting opponents score the fewest points against them in the NFL. I think it's 14.7 points right now. And but the 49ers are top 10 as well. The 49ers are 7th in scoring defense in the league. So I expect a low scoring affair, which means this thing could flip with one big play either way.
And the Texans are going to be a little limited too, right? They look like they're probably going to be without Nico Collins this week, who's dealing with a concussion after slamming his head on the turf in Monday Night Football. There is still a chance he could make it back for that game, but looking like right now, as of time of doing this show, that he's probably trending towards not playing. So that Houston offense is it's not as potent as it was even just last year or the year before, right? After Nico Collins, the drop-off at wide receiver is pretty severe. I mean, you have Christian Kirk, who has also not been 100% this year, and you also look at the backfield, and between Chubb and Marks, that run game has not been effective for the Houston Texans. So this is not a team that really strikes a whole lot of fear into you offensively, but defensively, the Texans, as you just pointed out, are they'll hold their own, and they'll be at home. They are 2-1 in their last 3, even though they did just lose in prime time. So this isn't just like a cakewalk type of a game for the 49ers, despite the fact that the Texans haven't really shown a whole lot to you this season yet. They definitely don't have the best record, sitting at 2-4, and CJ Stroud maybe taken a little bit of a step back this year. There's a lot of uncertainty, I would say, in the Houston Texans world right now. But one thing is for certain, and we were just talking about this before we started the show, Dwayne, the Houston Texans run defense, very, very, very solid. Can Christian McCaffrey continue to produce on the ground against this solid Texans run defense?
Well, I think he'll have a chance against it, but it won't be easy. It's great having George Kittle back, and we know what he does for the team. He's been a spark for him at this stage, okay? But looking at that run defense by the Houston Texans, they play well. They ranked number 4 in the league total defense, and the games that they have played all been close. They played Tampa to 1 point. It was 19 to 20, and in Tampa, we know what they did to the 49ers when they went down to Tampa. But it's going to be a case to where we know that the running game is what really opens up the passing game. So they have to get that running game working.
And that running game was finally working last week. That was the first time that we'd really seen the running game have that kind of a day this year. But this is what Kyle Shanahan wants to do, right? Like, this is Kyle Shanahan's bread and butter. A Kyle Shanahan team wants to run the ball. And when I'm looking at the trajectory of this 49ers offense, and specifically of their offensive line, I'm getting the vibe that they're starting to maybe mesh a little bit. I liked what I saw from Matt Hennessy last week, and hopefully he'll get some time to play this week as well. But we'll see about if Brendel is able to return or not. He didn't practice on Wednesday. I did not see if he practiced today. Brian, did you happen to see that, or Dwayne?
Yeah, I got the injury report right here. Brendel did not practice. Pearsall did not practice. And now it just disappeared on me. Here we go. So Pearsall did not practice, dealing with the knee steel. DeAndre Lenore had a quad injury, so he was out of practice. Huff, it looks like it's going to be a couple of weeks potentially with his hamstring. Jake Brendel did not practice either. Yetur Gross-Matos still not practicing.
Yeah, the 49ers team website got to update their injury report. I'm only seeing Wednesday from their team website right now. But for the 49ers offensive line, I did like what I saw from Matt Hennessy, specifically in the run game last week. And so if he is able to maybe give Brendel a little bit of time off, I don't think anybody in 49er land is going to complain about that. We've seen Brendel on the losing side of a few plays this year, few plays too many, and hey, why not? Maybe Hennessy can give you a little something there at the center position. It also looks like Dom Pooney may be getting a little bit healthier, and at left guard, Connor Colby starting to come into his own a little bit at that position. But it is just it seems like if the 49ers can find success running the ball, especially up the middle, like that the outside runs are going to be a little bit better with George Kittle back in the offense. You saw that last week, but I was really surprised in the game on Sunday to see a lot of the 49ers running success coming in that A gap between the guards. That was something we had not really seen this year so far, just 2 yards in a cloud of dust most of the time. But you were seeing McCaffrey hit that line and then push through, and you were seeing that line surge a little bit forward instead of getting pushed back or just staying neutral and just kind of mulling around the line of scrimmage. So if that line can continue to get push against the Houston Texans, I think that's going to bode well, obviously, for the 49ers in their run game. One thing that I did like that we saw last week was the 49ers kind of went to just like a smash mouth brand of football, right? Like they were just running the ball right down their throats and just continuously going back to the well. And I want to see them do that again. That was the first game this year that I've really got the vibe that the 49ers went out there and beat up their opponent. And that's the kind of brand of football I want to see them play against the Texans, because I think you can go in there and bully the Houston Texans a little bit. And I think that will result in a 49ers win. And also this past game, while they are putting up a lot of yards, they're not putting the ball in the end zone as much as you would like to see. So if the 49ers are going to score touchdowns in this one, which I do think they will be at will be at a premium in this game, I think you need that run game to be able to punch it in if you're going to score a touchdown in this one. So the 49ers taking on the Texans on Sunday, and it'll be a test for sure. But ultimately, I personally think the 49ers have what it takes to beat this Houston Texans team. Maybe we should all pick against the 49ers, though, like you were saying, Brian, because both shows where all three of us have gone against the 49ers, they've won, but against the Rams and against last week against the Falcons. So who knows, man? Maybe we should all sit here and proclaim that the 49ers are going to lose. But for you, Dwayne, what's the biggest key for the 49ers in this upcoming matchup against the Texans?
To me, the biggest key for the offense is what they did last week. They changed the running game up a little bit, and they went to a more power scheme with a lot of traps and doubles, and that's who they are. They don't have the players that can be zone blockers, I don't think. And you could see the traps were working, and that's why the inside run game started working, because they was doubling the inside, where before you hadn't seen that much double teaming and trapping than in the previous games. And that's the one thing that's going to be a big key for them. If they stick with that type of running game, they'll be more successful rather than the zone scheme. Because the zone scheme, it's hard when you don't have the zone guys up front to block it.
It's probably the right idea once again to try to hit them in the middle on that defense too, because they're so good on the edges. And I don't know if the Texans are a team that you're going to beat going, horizontally. And Dwayne, you could probably speak to this too. It just felt like there was a little it was like, okay, Kyle Shanahan challenged him. He's like, we want to call 40 runs. We're going downhill. We're not going horizontal. We're going to go more power. It was funny because you mentioned Pooney and Connor Colby there, Eric, and they both got beat on the opening drive. The very first play of the game, Pooney gets beat for an instant sack, and then Colby gets beat to bookend to end the drive on a pressure and got Mac Jones hit. And it was like, oh man, this is going to be a long day if they're dropping back and letting that pass rush come and get them. And they didn't do that, because they said, you know what? No, we're going to go downhill. We're going to beat them between the tackles. You got to see Pooney get out and pull a lot. And all of a sudden it was much better. And you could just feel the momentum. You could see it with, Kittle and his energy. You could see it with the offensive linemen. And Dwayne, I'm sure you know what that's like, or maybe it's like being on the opposite side of that, where a team starts to get that momentum and starts to believe that, yeah, we can go straight through you.
Oh, yeah, it's hard. When you get that inside running game going and your tackles, man, they're getting two guys on them every time, and the linebackers somebody's got to step up and take that double team off that tackle. And if you don't have the linebackers that can hit it and take that tackle or take that guard or whoever is center off of him, you got a problem. And that showed against the Falcons. It showed up big. They was able to get downhill on the Falcon defense, and that's a big key. And I think if you don't have a big guy, and the Houston Texans aren't that big inside, you don't have that big, Marshall. What's his name? Used to play.
Yeah, you don't have the Vita Vea inside.
Yeah, Vita Vea. Or
a familiar linebacker, Azeez Al-Shaair, though, and Henry To'o is sort of like the new school undersized athletic linebacker, and so going right at him downhill. Trying to take on the tackles rather than the ends, I think is probably the way to go about it again for the 49ers. And it worked. So why not keep trying it?
Yeah, it worked. They kept them on their heels.
Mm-hmm.
And with George Kittle back in the mix, I think that really helps Kyle Shanahan feel more comfortable calling those double teams on the inside, right? Because you know that George Kittle can neutralize an edge rusher, or he can handle a defensive end or an outside linebacker if you put him one-on-one against those guys. And most tight ends in the league can't handle that. So I do think that even though George Kittle isn't blocking those guys up the middle, right? Like George Kittle is kind of the key that unlocks that to some extent, because it gives the 49ers enough versatility in their blocking schemes up front to be able to activate those double teams and things like that on the interior. And you guys are right. There is no big Vince Wilfork coming to plug up the middle for this Houston Texans team. He's not coming in with his you remember that old Kingsford Grill commercial he used to do with the overalls with no shirt underneath, and how massive of a man he seemed. And he's not coming in to intimidate anybody. I mean, I know he's maybe a few extra pounds that aren't necessarily muscle on that body, but that's still intimidating as hell, looking at a mass of a man that is just that large on the other side of you. Like that's got to be absolutely, some degree of terrifying, even though you're an NFL player. I mean, this guy is making you feel small as a pro athlete. That's next level size, man. And the Texans don't have that on this team right now. You still do have some pretty solid edge rushers, as we were talking about, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, both not too shabby on the outside. I think the 49ers would love some edge rushers of that caliber right now on the outside. So you can't take them too lightly. But again, I do think that attacking the middle of the Houston Texans D line is the way to go for this 49ers team. But it's not all about just attacking this Houston Texans defense, right? The 49ers got to figure out a way to neutralize that Houston Texans offense, and I think they'll have some success doing that. So why don't we get into that next here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show? Let's break down how this 49ers defense can go about stopping this Houston Texans offense. They did score 44 points against the Ravens not too long ago, so we got to talk about that next, coming up on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And 49ers taking on the Texans, man, I picked against the 49ers last week. Well, I'm not doing that again this week. I'm going 49ers money line against the Texans. The 49ers are getting 1.5 points. I think I'd probably bet that too, because if you're going to go money line, why wouldn't you take the points as well? But on the road dogs, I don't care. Give me the 49ers money line, and we're going with that on ESPN Bet right now, plus 110. So with FanDuel, you can get in on the action of anything you want to across the NFL when just sitting on your couch, and that spread is also the same right now on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by four-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board and host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock. And guys, this 49ers defense, it's stepped up in a lot of ways. I mean, we talk about next man up for literally this whole team, but right now, you're looking at this 49ers defense, and virtually in every single unit that you're talking about, the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary, you're down to your second and sometimes third string when talking about all of these different position groups. Yet the 49ers are still a top 10 defense in the NFL right now. Like they are playing just so good. And I think this is the biggest surprise of this football team this year, has to be the fact that this defense is still showing up and showing out despite no Fred Warner, despite no Nick Bosa, despite injuries all over the board. And the secondary, let's start there, because again, you had Renardo Green injured last week, and Diamador Lenore not practicing this week. So it leaves that secondary pretty thin, man. But last week we did see in some key situations the backups stepping up and making some plays. We saw Chase Lucas with a big PBU late in the game, and that wasn't the only highlight, but to me that was massive. That was a huge play in that game, and I'm starting to trust some of these backups. Dwayne, let's go to you first. How are you feeling about this 49ers secondary specifically? And even if you don't have a Diamador Lenore or a Renardo Green, how are you feeling with the matchup coming against the Houston Texans, who could potentially be down Nico Collins and might not have the best wide receiver core to run out there against this 49ers secondary.
Well, the thing that I saw last week against Atlanta was the start of the guys up front. They ran more games, more stunts. They was able to move to get the quarterback to move off his spot. Okay, and that helped the secondary. And the secondary did a great job of staying with their coverage. Believing that that we can't let this quarterback be us. It's going to be the same way this time. If they start the game out running stunts like they did before, running tackle in stunts, bringing the linebacker or bringing the safety, that helped quite a bit. Before, we hadn't seen these guys. All they did was want a bull rush to go down the middle of the offensive tackles every time, and that don't work. I've always said you have to mix it up front to make the quarterback move his eyes, to take his eyes off of the receiver and start looking at the rush. And that was the key last week. I thought they did a great job of starting fast and making the quarterback's eyes come off the receiver and give them a little bit more time to get to the quarterback, and also for the guys who are out there covering too. And I thought they did a great job. They're all backups, like you said.
And it's going to be one thing that we've talked about, like you said, is running games up front. We've talked about that a lot on this show. But one of the keys to that you've mentioned several times is that you need experience with that guy next to you to know how to play off of each other and run those games. And again, with more backups cycling, and I mean, who knows if Bryce Huff is going to be back anytime soon? Definitely out for this week. That takes away more of a level of familiarity that these guys have with each other. And again, you're maybe looking at going to, in some options, your third string defensive lineman. So if you want to run some games, is that something that you can maybe just work on and practice for like a week and then actually implement it in a game and be successful?
Well, no, it takes a while because you have to know the guy that you're working the game with. You got to know what type rusher he is and how well he sets it up for you. He just can't be a guy that what we call flash and go, where he just take one step at the lineman and then go, because he's going to get that guy killed who's coming inside or who's going to be rushing outside. You got to know how to freeze the guy, and you got to know the guy that you're working with and what type rusher he is at some point. They get it, but it takes a while. And you have to know who you're working with to make it successful. You just can't go out there and run it with anybody.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at here, is that the 49ers are probably going to have to win one-on-one a lot in this game, because those you're going to be limited in those, that familiarity. So maybe they do try to run a couple stunts and things like that, but ultimately I think you either need to find a way to win one-on-one matchups, or Robert Saleh's got to dial up that blitz and figure out how to get that extra pass rusher involved and coming in unblocked, hopefully, to avoid some of having to win these one-on-one matchups. But again, that's going to be tough to send an extra blitzer when your starting quarterbacks might be out, when you might not have Diamador Lenore, and you're not going to have Renardo Green. So again, it seems like something that the 49ers should be able to do, right? You look at this Houston Texans offense and what they've been able to do this year. Other than that game against the Ravens, they only put up over 20 points one other time this season. So I am expecting this to be a low-scoring game, and maybe all the 49ers need to do is just get home a couple times or force one turnover. I think really could be the big difference in this matchup. And as we know, it's been quite a while since the 49ers have had an interception. Is this the week that it finally happens, Brian?
No, probably not. If you're going by recent history, one thing that Robert Saleh has done a good job of is, and he hasn't brought a lot of blitzes, and I'm with Dwayne. You got to find a way to get some pass rush, and now you lose the other guy, which was the only other player besides Bosa on your roster even to begin with, that you thought would be able to go just create pressure by himself. One of the things he's done a good job of is sort of show an O-load on one side and then drop people out into coverage. So he's actually not bringing extra. He's still bringing 4, but he's actually bringing a blitzer and then dropping out a defensive lineman. So he still has numbers and people in the same number of guys covering. So we might see a little bit more of that potentially. But that's a huge question, because we're looking at one of the listeners in the chat asked who's going to play corner if Lenoir and Green are out, and we're going to see Eli Apple elevated from the practice squad, right? We were talking a little bit about up the air. I mean, what else are you going to do? Because Upton Stout and Chase Lucas have, to my knowledge, only been playing through camp, and so a couple guys on the practice squad, Derek Canteen and Eli Apple. I would imagine we see a little Eli Apple if one of these guys are, if Lenoir or Green aren't going to be active on Sunday.
I know that Tyreek Hill has not had the best year this year, but man, I'm glad that the 49ers aren't playing him this week, because I feel like if he was going up against Eli Apple, he would just – it's just certain matchups in the league, right, where guys kind of just are looking for that matchup, and that's one of them. That's for sure one of them. Tyreek Hill for sure owns Eli Apple, some major ownage there, but we'll see if who gets those meaningful minutes starting outside the numbers, and I think it's going to be hard for the 49ers to slow some aspects of this Texans offense down, but also this Texans offense isn't going to be at full strength. I don't think Nico Collins is going to be out there, and it can't be. I don't think you can overstate how much that is going to impact this Texans offense, because he is really, their number one pass catcher by a mile. It's not going to be the vibe of like what the 49ers did and have just kind of been having the next guy up. I don't think that's going to work the same way for the Texans. Collins has been the Texans' leading receiver in almost every single game they've played this year, and he's a major part of their offense. He's the guy who takes the top off the defense and is their big play threat. And so the 49ers also without some big play threats of their own, but ultimately I think there's more talent on the 49ers offense, even with all the injuries, than there is on the Texans offense. So if it does turn into who can move the ball better kind of game, I think it's going to be the 49ers. But ultimately, like we've been saying, this defense, these two defenses, that's where the battle is going to be. The 49ers right now are, as I said in that FanDuel read, they're a 1.5 dogs in this one. Road dogs. It's a 1.5 basically means on the road basically means it's projected to be even and just a slight home field advantage for the Texans. So a lot of the national speculation on this game is that it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. And I do expect this to come down really to the wire. But in a lot of these close games, the 49ers have been able to play good enough defense. And obviously, as we alluded to earlier in the show, you got a kicker you trust at this point. So in those close games, I think that leans more towards the San Francisco 49ers winning this one. And it's going to have to be not just the secondary that contributes and not just the D-line that contributes, but also we got to talk about this linebacking core, because you're going into your second week without Fred Warner. For in my opinion, the best player on this football team on either side of the ball. He might be the best football player on the defensive side of the ball in all of the NFL when he's healthy. Missing that guy usually is going to tank your team, especially when you're already missing your number one pass rusher. But the way that Tatum Bethune played last week, man, has got me hyped on this kid. Number 48 was so good in all phases last weekend. I saw a listener earlier, Filthy Casual saying Bethune looked good on the blitz last week. He did, man. I loved seeing him run over that guard and just put him flat on his back on his way to what would have been a sack if it didn't get called off because of I think it was not pass interference, but a defensive holding call on that, or maybe it was illegal contact on that same play. Kind of ticky-tacky foul, but I digress. The 49ers linebacking core, I think, is going to play a big role in this one as well, because you don't want those Texans running backs getting going, right? Like, you don't want to let Marks kind of get some confidence, the rookie who's popped in a few games this season, but overall has not looked super consistent. And Nick Chubb is Nick Chubb. I know he's, at this point declining and just belittled with injuries throughout or riddled with injuries throughout his last couple seasons. But I think that the 49ers need to make sure that you don't give the Texans room to operate on the ground. I think that is what the Texans are going to try to do without Nico Collins. And I think that that's important for these linebackers to be able to step up and hit and wrap, right? Like no extra yards. Don't let these guys break a bunch of tackles and get a bunch of yards after contact. That would be, in my opinion, the way the Texans would win this game against the 49ers defense. Dwayne, if there's one aspect of this 49ers defense that you think the Texans are going to attack, is it that same, do you think that they're going to attack them through the run game, or where do you think the Texans could find some success against the 49ers defense? What's the problem point for them?
I think they're going to try it in the air myself. I think they're going to let the run game go and say, hey, we can beat these guys. This is a no-name secondary. So we feel like we have enough receivers to challenge that secondary, the 49ers secondary. And I really do think that's the way that we'll attack them. And you look at the running game, well, CJ is he's third on the team in rushing. That's the quarterback. So you want to try to keep him intact too. You don't want him to get out and bust a big one on you. So that's going to be a key to it too. It's the quarterback. Once he gets out the pocket, will he be able to hurt him? And when you play, the 49ers don't play that much man to man. So I think it won't be a problem with him scrambling around and making the secondary have to work.
Yeah, you can see this one coming where it's going to come down to which quarterback makes the big plays and which quarterback doesn't make mistakes and doesn't throw the ball to the other team, because I think both of these teams, the Texans have just a really good all-around defense, but they've been very good stopping the run. I don't think the 49ers are going to have quite the success they had on the ground last week. And that's the strength of the 49ers defense. And even if you look at how banged up they are in the secondary now and, lacking pass rushers, they're still going to be good against the run. Loved seeing Tatum Bethune come up and thump people in the run game. And I had a feeling he was going to be good there, and he was good there. And so it's going to come down to, if these teams are forced into 3rd and 8s and 3rd and 6s and which quarterback makes plays, which quarterback doesn't make mistakes. And that's probably going to tell a big story of this game. And if there's a prop bet for tight end touchdowns, I might take that with Dalton Schultz and George Kittle in this game. I think we might see a little bit more George Kittle than his one target for no catches last week.
Since you brought it up, it is National Tight Ends Week, or National Tight Ends Day coming up. And yours truly does have currently an 8-leg tight end touchdown parlay that could, $20 might win me $84K. We'll see what happens. But
which 8 tight ends is it?
I would have to pull it up right now. Let me pull it up for you guys in a minute. But I do think, if I remember correctly, that I threw Dalton Schultz in there. So the 49ers are going to hopefully be able to get a tight end touchdown of their own, right? Like George Kittle getting involved in the pass game would be great for the 49ers. But they're I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the ball to him as much as they'd like, because I think Texans know they want to get the ball to George Kittle. And I got the 8-legger here pulled up right now. It's Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, George Kittle, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Jake Ferguson, Tucker Kraft, and Hunter Henry. There's my 8-leg parlay for you. So no Dalton Schultz in there. So if the 49ers can get the tight end touchdown and not the Texans, not only would that help the 49ers maybe get this win, but it would also help yours truly get a little bit closer to 84K. So we're all pulling for that, right? But the 49ers this week, I do think that Schultz is probably going to be basically wide receiver 1 for the Texans, right?
He definitely will be, because he's a guy. He's a sneaky guy to me. He's always comes up with the tough catches too, and those are the guys you got to worry about. And we hope that our safety keeps his eye on him too, because he made some catches against the Seahawks last on Monday night that was crazy, But I think he'll be held to 0. So don't count on him making any touchdowns this week, okay?
You know what, Dwayne? It got me thinking. I got a question for you. Eli Apple has bounced around the league now quite a bit. Former first-round pick. He's 30 years old. He's a 10-year veteran. When you were at that stage of your career, you've been playing for 10 years. You were a Super Bowl champion. would you be bouncing around on people's practice squads? Is this just like love of the game? Does he have child support payments? Like, what's going on? Like, go live it up. You got to have a bankroll somewhere.
You know, you got a great point there, because once you get to that point where you've been with a lot of teams, what's the point of it all anyway? It's time for you to walk away. And as long as you stay, the less people going to say, he's who? Who is that? Eli who? You know, he's a has-been. You got to leave the game. You got to let it go.
That was what I think it was Patrick Willis said. He's like, man, I liked it when people are like, wow, look at this guy play. And he started having some of those foot injuries and lower body injuries. And he's like, I don't want to play if I'm not wowing people, and I'm not still that guy. I thought that was pretty cool.
You know, one thing I always remember that I was told by Coach Walsh was, you got to leave the game before the respect goes away. That means that when players quit respecting you as a player, it's time to go. I remember walking through the locker room one time in Seattle when we had Jerry Rice, and there was a young guy that was sitting there. He was talking to Jerry. It was Jerry's last year, and he was on the phone talking to his mom, and he was telling his mom, "Man, I lined up against Jerry Rice today. I covered him all over the field." And I walked by him and I told him, I said, "Boy, you lucky. You didn't come in when Jerry Rice came in. Because right now, I said, right now, you'll be sitting at home with your mom because he would have got you cut."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, you don't want to put that film out there that, know, Jerry still had it when he was with the Raiders, but then you see him at the Seahawks and he tried to go with the cornrows and the hairline started like in the middle of his head. And it's like, Jerry, we didn't need to see you in the Seahawks uniform. Yeah,
I know. Leave the game before the game leaves you. And it was like a moment where I was like, man, this kid don't know who he lined up against. Back in the day, he would have been long gone.
Yeah, he didn't want to see Flash 80.
No, he didn't want to see that. No.
Yeah. At least, Dwayne, I know that you also ended up there in Seattle, but at least you waited until after your playing career, so we didn't have to see you wear that uniform. You know what I mean? It leaves. I think I can speak for all Niners fans when I say that we like to just forget that Jerry Rice ever put on that uniform, right?
Oh yeah, everybody would like to forget that. Jerry probably would have too. Yeah, he was like, "Man, what am I doing up here? It's time for me to go." So,
so. Just getting back to this Texans matchup, Dalton Schultz. One thing that does slightly concern me about this, right, is that he is probably going to be heavily targeted. You're looking at maybe Christian Kirk plays. He is questionable right now, but after him, you're looking at Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and Xavier Hutchinson as your wide receiving core for the Houston Texans. So again, not anything to really write home about. So Schultz is going to get, I think, force-fed a lot of targets, and the guy who would normally cover him is Fred Warner. I think you see Tatum Bethune out there in pass coverage against Schultz, but I don't know if that's gonna work. Brian, do you have a lot of confidence in this 49ers linebacking core matching up with Schultz, or would you rather see them maybe try to use a corner on Schultz a little bit more in this one, like a big nickel, so to speak?
Yeah, I could absolutely see the big nickel situation, and you have some extra. The place you do have extra players is at safety right now, and so whether it's Malik Mustafa, love seeing him come downhill and put a big lick on a player last week, and I think it was Algier, and Algier's a load too, and knocking him silly for a minute. You do have Pinnock, and you have. Obviously Siegel, who was more of a nickel player when he was in college too, and he's athletic, and so he would be someone you would think would be able to match up like that. Jair Brown has played the big nickel role as well this year for the 49ers, so I could absolutely see that. You probably don't want Luke Gifford manning up too much on Dalton Schultz there. So, and the thing about the 49ers is, as Dwayne mentioned a little earlier, they do play a lot of zone. And so you've got to be sound in your zone, know where to be, anticipate, and the 49ers have done a good job of that. And I do expect Hayden Bethune and D. Winters to be able to pull that off. But you just can't let the big play happen, the one where they catch it and then they hit the seam and then they're still running, right? And you got to be able to rally downhill when the tight end's catching that ball 4 yards from the line of scrimmage, and that's not going to hurt you too bad. But red zone, when they hit you with the big throw down the seam, those are the ones that you can't have for the 49ers.
So no Tez Johnsons in this one. Hopefully, no busting coverages. Make sure. Yes, and hopefully, like that story that you've told us a few times, Dwayne. Hopefully, they're asking for a hat out there. Hopefully, because I think that if you're one-on-one against anybody, obviously, 49ers are going to be running zone as we've been talking about in this in the show, but. You don't want to leave anybody on an island right now. Nobody on this defense should be doing anything without help, because it's going to take the unit as a whole playing cohesively together, I think, to limit this Texans offense and to get this win. But I do think that this is going to be whatever the opposite of a strength-on-strength matchup is, right? Like Houston Texans offense, not really the strength of this team right now, pretty banged up and or at least banged up at key positions. And the 49ers defense also banged up at a lot of key positions, missing a lot of their best players. So these two units both depleted, but looking to make some noise. I think the 49ers have a little bit better of a chance in this battle that is going to happen on Sunday. Let's take a quick break here. On the other side, we got more to get into from this matchup. The Niners and the Texans go at it on Sunday. DeMeco Ryans versus his old coaching staff, his old coach, Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan. We'll see how that all plays out, and we'll get into more of this matchup next on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go, while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Dwayne Board, four-time Super Bowl champion, and Brian Peacock, host of the Locked On 49ers podcast. We haven't talked about the quarterback, and it's the third segment of the show, and this is the most important position in football, so I feel like we should talk about the quarterback a little bit. You got Brock Purdy, still not really looking 100% at practice. He looks like he's. I'm looking at a tweet from David Lombardi right now that he just looks like he's moving a little slow, a little gingerly walking around out there, and he's been logging some limited practices for over a week now. I don't think he's going to end up playing. I think that ultimately you probably want to see a full practice from Brock, especially because he came back a little bit too early in that Jags game, and it kind of set him back and all the fallout from that, right? So Mac Jones, seems like we're going with Mac 10 again at that quarterback position, and he's been pretty solid. Last week was definitely, I think, his when you're looking at the box score, at least, definitely his worst week as a passer. He had his lowest passing total, threw an interception, although that interception was not his fault at all. Shout out Juwan Jennings for demanding a giant pay raise and then causing an interception for his quarterback. It's a bad look, man. You can't be doing that. But the 49ers, I know Juwan Jennings is also injured as hell too right now. He's battling through a lot. So the 49ers passing attack with Mac Jones, are they going to be able to find any room against this Houston Texans defense, Brian?
It's fascinating because if we said before the season started, man, this week 8 matchup, Texans 49ers is going to come down to the quarterbacks making big throws on third down. And, oh, yeah, Brock Purdy's going to be out. So it's going to be Mac Jones against C.J. Stroud. Everybody in the world will be like, oh, the Texans are going to win that game. It's going to be C.J. Stroud. And after seeing C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense and watching Mac Jones rehab his image, I don't think you have that same takeaway as we sit here after 7 weeks of the NFL season. I still think CJ Stroud's a pretty good player. And I asked a similar question to John Hickman of Locked On Texans, and a little bit later on this Wednesday evening, that will go live on YouTube. It'll be first thing in your feeds on Thursday morning for our weekly crossover, Locked On 49ers and Locked On Texans. And he had some insight to what's going on in the offense. And basically it was like, it's everything. They haven't figured out the coordinator thing. They brought over Bobby Slowick from the 49ers. You know, it was a really good first year for CJ Stroud, and then things kind of fell apart. And so they made the switch, and the new guy doesn't look any better than the old guy as far as being a play caller. The offensive line has been pretty bad as well, and CJ Stroud's probably not playing as well as he should be, and maybe being a little bit shell-shocked because of how often he's pressured, maybe some bad habits, maybe holding on to the ball a little bit too long. And so it's a little bit of everything there on the offensive side of the ball. We know that CJ Stroud is still so talented. Can he make those throws? Can he get protected by his offensive line? I don't know. He hasn't been doing it much this year at all, but it's certainly in there. And so it's surprisingly close when you talk about Mac Jones versus CJ Stroud at this point in their careers, which you would not have expected that to be the case.
Not at all. And I mean, this guy, did you guys hear the comments that Stroud made earlier this season where he said he's feeling his age? This guy's 24 years old, and he's out here saying that he feels old, man. And I know football's a tough game, but Dwayne, 24 years old, saying you're feeling your age. Man, I'm 32, and I still feel like if I start saying stuff like, man, I'm feeling my age when I'm at my slow pitch softball game, I get roasted by my contemporaries. This guy, he can't be 24 years old talking about feeling old, right?
He must be doing something extra, maybe going to the massage parlor, getting the wrong masseuse or something. But man, At 24 years old, you can't be feeling that way or even saying that. At 24 years old, you're hitting the prime of your life.
When you get sacked 100 times a year, you feel a little bit different than the average 24-year-old, I would think.
Well,
is that
the thing about getting sacked that many times is you're holding the ball too long. Get rid of it. Get it out of your hands. And you look at Dan Marino. He was slow as molasses, but the one thing he was hard to get to because he got rid of the ball quick. And Dan Marino played 17 years, 14, 15 years, yeah. So that's his problem is you just can't try to hit the home run every time. Get rid of the ball, let somebody else do the work.
And this was a guy who was a little mobile coming into the NFL, right? Like he wasn't going to be like running the read option or anything like that, but he was a guy who was capable of breaking the pocket and getting a few yards and things like that. And it seems like he's just not ready to do that right now. And this guy was born in 2001, man. Like this guy is born post 2000. You can't be out here talking about being slow at 24 years old, man. That's wild to me. But hopefully this provides an opportunity for the 49ers defense to maybe get home to the quarterback a little bit more than they've been able to so far this season. Brian, do you see the 49ers being able to get CJ Stroud on the ground?
No, not really. I don't know where it's going to come from. What would last week's game look like if there was no Bryce Huff, right? And so whether it's a blitz or you got to have someone win inside, maybe Kevin Givens. Elliott played a really good game inside for the 49ers last week. Mykel Williams, he's your first-round pick. I know he wasn't drafted because of his prowess as a pass rusher, but can you get a win there? It's going to take everybody, and you got to find some ways to get home because you don't have anybody left that is known to be good at getting there by themselves without things getting schemed up or getting a good look or just having that one good rep. And so Alfred Collins, CJ West, the rookies, whoever it is. Travis Gibson getting the call up from the practice squad again, probably. He was one of their better pass rushers in camp. He wasn't on the field when Fred Warner got hurt, and they had 10 men on the field, so that can't happen again. So, Travis, I know you got to be on special teams. You got to jump back on the field if it's your turn as well. So don't forget that if you get the call again. But someone's going to have to make some plays. Maybe you send the nickel, the slot, and create something. But I don't envision. It's the one thing I don't know about, and the 49ers got away with it last week, but they were able to shorten the game, run the ball, and there wasn't as many opportunities for the Falcons. And to be honest with you, Penix played terribly.
Yeah.
It's still the thing in the back of my head. It's like, how It's smoke and mirrors right now. How the 49ers keep winning without that pass rush, and now it's going to be even worse than it was last week with no Huff.
You know, Brian, you said something that's important that for the 49ers is they have to find a way to shorten the game. And shortening the game means that the offense has got to be the one that makes the game shorter. They got to go out and control the ball and use up the clock and try to keep that, well, I call it young defense off the field. You just can't go out there and let that defense play 25 snaps in one drive. You can't have that. You got to go out and make sure that, hey, keep these guys, keep that defense on the sidelines as long as you can. You can't go out there and go, we're going to throw it 3 times in a row and got, what, nothing. And here comes the punter. You can't do that. You got to go out and burn that clock up. And that's going to be a big key with the 49ers winning this football game is who's going to take care of that clock more? Are the Houston Texans going to control the clock or the 49ers going to control the clock? It's going to come down to that.
So Christian McCaffrey's going to have that third gun out. Another 31 touches. Let's go, CMC.
Maybe he'll go for 180 or 200 this game.
This guy's going to have 500 touches by the end of the year, isn't he? I mean, Christian McCaffrey's just, we're just going to run him until the wheels fall off. And I think we knew that was kind of going to be the 49ers offensive strategy coming into this season with as many injuries as they had at the wide receiver position. But it feels like it has gotten so just exasperated at this point. The 49ers, you're essentially pigeonholed into giving Christian McCaffrey at least 25 touches between his receptions and his rushes. Otherwise, I don't know how the hell this offense moves the ball. And before we move on to the next point, I just want to point out that, Brian, your take on the 49ers pass rush being virtually non-existent without Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa, and even with those guys, it hasn't really been super good this year when you saw them on the field. With those, if you take those two out of the equation, the 49ers have exactly 3 sacks on the season. If you take away Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa's sacks, those two guys combined for 6. It's been tough. It's been tough sledding for the 49ers defensively, trying to get the quarterback on the ground. But the Texans O-line kind of not the best. So
who's got the other sacks? Who's got the other sacks? I know Michael Williams has one. And I think Upton Stout got one early in the season, right?
Yep. Sam Okuwanu. Yeah. And so he's the only other guy who has a sack on the 49ers. I would like to see some convergence on the quarterback. And even on plays last week where the 49ers didn't end up getting Penix on the ground, I still saw them get a lot more pressure, right? Like they were collapsing the pocket a lot more. At least that's what it looked like to me. I have 0 statistics on this, but I'm just saying off the eye test, it looked like they were able to kind of condense that space to operate around Michael Penix. And this is kind of another quarterback who isn't really going to look to run a lot and do some things like you saw Baker Mayfield do, get outside the pocket and scramble around back there and be slippery. And of course, Baker's, I hate to bring it up again, but that third down run that Baker was able to rip off for the first down, like CJ Stroud ain't going to do all that. So I do think that you have maybe a little bit better of a chance of kind of maybe getting some aspects of what you saw last week against the Falcons incorporated into this game than you would if you were facing, say, like a mobile quarterback. If you had like the Ravens or something coming to town and you had to deal with Lamar Jackson, I think that would pose a much bigger problem for this 49ers pass rush, getting him on the ground. But a guy like CJ Stroud, who's not looking to move around too much, man, I think maybe they got something there. So we'll see if they're able to do it. Ultimately, though, I don't think it's necessarily about the sacks as much as it is about getting him off his spot, making him be uncomfortable, not letting him plant that foot and throw the ball and deliver the mail downfield. If you're able to stop that, I think that you can maybe get something going with that defense here. And ultimately, like I've said before in this show, I don't think that the Texans are going to be moving the ball super prolifically with the limitations that they have in their offense right now due to injury and just not playing very well this year. And ultimately, I think what separates the 49ers from the Texans in this one, we talked about it a little bit earlier on in the show, but it's the coaching. That's been the number one reason why the 49ers have been in these games. Like we can talk a lot about what the players have done on the field, and yeah, you got to execute when you're put in that proper position to win. And there is all those sayings, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. Well, this week, damn it, I think it's about the X's and O's, man. Like Shanahan and Saleh have really been the MVPs of this team. Like Christian McCaffrey has carried the load, but without Shanahan's brain on this team might be in the Texans realm, sitting at like 2-5 instead of 5-2. So I do think that is something that swings in the favor of the 49ers. But Dwayne, do you think that maybe DeMeco Ryans could surprise some 49ers fans, take enough of his institutional knowledge that he has of the organization and implement that, and maybe have a thing or two up his sleeves against Shanahan and the 49ers?
Well, if it's anybody who knows Shanahan well, it's DeMeco. And DeMeco I always thought he was a smart defensive coordinator. And as a head coach, I wonder how much input does he have, or does he rely on the defensive coordinator? I'm pretty sure he has a little bit of input, but I remember back in the day when I was with the 49ers and we was going from when George went from defensive coordinator to to the head coach, he leaned more towards the offense. He kind of left the defense to the defensive coordinator. And I don't know, will that be the same thing with DeMeco? Is he going to leave it to the defensive coordinator? Because he has a defensive coordinator with a few years under his belt. And the defensive coordinator is the guy. I think he was at Arizona before he went over to the Houston Texans. And I'm pretty sure DeMeco might have a little bit of input, but I think he's going to let the guy who's there now handle most of it. But you don't know that until it's game time.
And Dwayne, you are correct.
Is the defense coordinator?
Yeah, and Matt Burt. Yeah, that's him, Matt Burt, right? So he was with Arizona Cardinals before that. So he knows the 49ers because of how many times the 49ers played Arizona when he was there. And he was there for a while.
Play left tackle. He can call plays in the huddle, play offensive line because they need that. And, one of the big keys, we were talking about getting sacks and getting pressure is motor. I think it's one of the underrated things about defensive linemen and getting sacks, right, Dwayne, is your motor nonstop. And if they're a bad offensive line, you can get there eventually. And if the quarterback's going to hold on to the ball, it can be second effort sack.
Yeah, and the second effort, we call them garbage sacks because nobody counts the garbage sacks at the end of the year. Well, how did he get that sack? Oh, it was a garbage sack. The guy fell down. A sack's a sack. It don't matter if it's garbage or you beat the guy in front of you. It comes out that way. I remember Chris Dolman, he was great at that. If the quarterback felt like he was going down, Dole would always get there and make sure he touched him first.
But it's two-hand touch. You just got to touch him.
Yeah, let's touch him. He's down. He's mine. He didn't even hit him. Yeah. So you got to make that quarterback feel the pressure and go down because he didn't want to take that hit.
And one thing that the 49ers did really like out of Mykel Williams was his motor. So coming out of college, maybe he gets an effort sack in this one. When I think of motor guys, like my brain instantly goes to Jared Allen, the former Viking, because that guy wasn't ever the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. He was none of those things athletically. Didn't matter. He was getting quarterback. He was leading the NFL in sacks while he was playing. And at certain points there, at certain seasons. And Jared Allen was a great defensive end. So you don't necessarily need to be the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. That motor aspect is absolutely huge for the defensive line. And this Texans O-line, like we've all kind of said throughout the show, it's not they're not world beaters over there, even though they do have former 49er Laken Tomlinson sitting there as a backup on the team. I don't think Laken's going to be one. I don't think Laken's playing in this game, and two, I don't think it's going to make a difference right now for the Texans who they got up there. It looks like they're just going to be kind of embattled right now. Like they just don't have things going right for them on that offensive line unit, and I think that does give a little bit of opportunity for the 49ers defense to maybe make something happen. Again, this is not a strength on strength matchup. This is two depleted units trying to figure out which one still got more juice left in the tank. And if I had to pick right now, I would pick the 49ers defense over that Houston Texans offense. But let's save it for the other side. Let's make our picks. One more break, wrap up the show on the other side, give you our official picks for this game. We'll be right back here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's just frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And I just used Gametime to get some tickets to go see Billy Strings, some bluegrass music down in Austin, Texas later this year. And you know what? That's what you get with Gametime, man. You aren't just getting your NFL deals, your MLB deals, your NBA deals, and your NHL deals. You can also use Gametime to get any kind of ticket that you want. If there's a concert going on that you are looking at going to, check out Gametime too, because they got that stuff there as well. And with their last minute deals, you always know that you're getting the best price on Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Dwayne Board, four-time Super Bowl champion, and Brian Peacock, host of the Locked On 49ers podcast. And we only got a couple minutes left here, guys. So real quick, let's get through it. Who do you think is going to win this game? And give me the one key reason as to why that will happen. Brian, let's go to you first.
Well, you teased it at the top. How about a 49ers victory? And then you just take one of those pass rushers back to the Bay Area with you and maybe swing a deal while you're there in Houston. Who knows? You bring Lake and Tomlinson and Trent Brown back as well for some depth on your offensive line. They're not starting for that unit anymore in Houston. I like a low-scoring game. The over-under is the lowest of all the games on Sunday. It's 41.5 points, and I think I would take under on that one. I think it could be ugly, even a scoregami, just a weird, awkward, ugly score. There was almost three different safeties in that Houston Texans and Seahawks game last week. It's just one of those types of battles. I expect more of a similar ugly affair for the Texans and Niners in this one. And who's not going to make the mistakes? Who's going to make the one big play? I like the 49ers by 3 and another Eddie De Niro field goal.
Yeah, man, hand up. I definitely teased that trade discussion, and we did not get into it. It's 100% on me. That's my bad, man. And we're running out of time here to talk about it. So maybe that'll have to be something we discuss another day. But just real briefly, 49ers, you're 5-2. Go get someone, man. Like that. I'm just going to leave it at that, right? Like,
it'll still be a topic next week for us too. Yeah, it's going to be a thing until the deadline's done.
Yep, I don't think that that conversation piece is going anywhere. So Brian likes the Niners by a field goal. Dwayne, what are you feeling for this one?
Well, after you brought up that quarterback says he's 24 years old and he's tired already, he's coming off a Monday night game. Hey, I'm taking Matt Jones and the 49ers by 2.
By 2. Interesting. And yeah, Mac 10 has been pretty good for the 49ers this year. And I don't have any reason to think that this week will be any different. I think he does enough to win this game, right? Like, I don't think you're going to see a 300-yard passing game. I don't think you're going to see multiple touchdowns out of Mac Jones, but I do think you will see him do what he's been doing in these prior games. Take care of the football. Be good on third down, not make dumb, stupid throws over the middle of the field that lead to interceptions and bad field position and turnovers. And I do think that the 49ers run game will be able to do a little bit more than the Houston Texans run game. Ultimately, I think the 49ers get it done. And hey, my bold prediction for this game, I'm going out on a big limb here. 49ers get an interception in this one. That's my big take for this game. I think you see the secondary come up with one. I'll even give you a name. I'm going with my guy Chase Lucas. I think we see Chase Lucas pull down a pick in this one before the end of the game. We'll see if I'm reading the tea leaves right or not. But I do think it. I think the 49ers are going to be able to get a turnover in this game. I think that's going to be the key in this one. And I'll say the 49ers win by a touchdown. I'm going to say they win 17-10. I think this one is a very low scoring, under 40 kind of game. And I think they will end up winning by a touchdown in this one. And hey, maybe we should have all picked against them because, like we said, they're undefeated when all three of us say, this team isn't going to win this week. But ultimately, I do think the 49ers got enough in the tank to go and beat the Houston Texans, who are 2-4 right now, banged up, third place in the AFC South, which I think we all thought going into the season was going to be one of the weaker divisions in the NFL until we saw Indiana Jones leading the Colts on this unreal tear right now. Like, what the hell is going on in Indiana? What's in the water down there, man? The Niners got the Colts coming up later this season, but they look real good. The rest of the AFC South, maybe a step or two behind. I think the Texans are able to got this week, and the 49ers win 17-10. That's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. It's been a fun one. There's so much more stuff I want to get into right now, too, and we just don't have the time for it. So we got to wrap up the show here. But thanks so much to all our everydayers for tuning in. And thanks to Brian and Dwayne for joining me, as always, here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. We will be back at it with Eric Crocker joining us on Sunday after the 49ers-Texans matchup, wrapping it all up and what we think will be a 49ers win. So join us for what will hopefully be a nice victory celebration on Sunday here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Make sure you're tuning in to the Rapid React with Peacock and Crocky after the game as well. And that's all the time we got today. So for Dwayne, for Brian, I'm your host, Eric, Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Have a good week.